Hey guys, today I'm going to be sharing with you some helpful tips to get your HX Stomp presets to sound amazing. Now, if you've been around the channel for any length of time, you know that I love this piece of gear. It's great for worship leaders and worship ministries because you can get great tones with just this one unit. For $599 brand new, and let me just say you don't have to spend that much. I didn't spend that much. You can find deals anywhere. I actually got a really good deal at my local Guitar Center because there was a defect. I actually got $100 off because of this little scratch right here. Definitely worth saving $100 if you ask me. But yeah, for that price, it's hard to go the traditional tube amp and pedal board route. I mean, just for a quick price comparison, if you're gonna get a decent tube amp, and I'm thinking of the Fender Blues Jr. or the Vox AC15, those are gonna run you about $500 to $600 alone before you even buy any pedals. So if you're thinking about diving into the world of electric guitar, or you're a worship leader who wants to provide quality gear to your volunteers, the HX Stomp is definitely a good option. Now, one other thing I wanted to say before we dive into the tips is that I'm changing the way I sell my HX Stomp presets. Now, the reason I'm changing the way I'm selling this is because of the progression, how things have just gone as I get used to the HX Stomp. Originally, I had 2 presets for sale that I loved, and I actually still love them. They're still in there, but as I've updated and added things, instead of having a bunch of different presets for sale individually, I created a preset bundle. But then as I learned things, I learned how to use the HX Stomp better. I learned some of the tips that I'm gonna share with you today. I kept upgrading these, and then I felt bad for the people who just purchased it the way it was before I updated, and it just got a little crazy. So in order to serve you guys better and to make it as easy as possible for me, I'm replacing the preset bundle for, drum roll, the HX Stomp Expanse Pack. So what is the Expanse Pack, Jimmy? I'm glad you asked. That's a good question. The one big change is that now it is a one-time purchase with free updates at no extra cost for life. The life of the product. I feel like I have to say that because it's not like as long as I live. It's as long as I'm selling this. And I'm not planning on not selling it anytime soon because I just started it and I think this is a really good idea. Now, it's called the Expanse Pack because it just keeps growing. As I lead worship, I'm always striving to get the best tone I can. So every time I tweak, adjust something, update something, put new things in there, you get to benefit. The purchase of the Expanse Pack gets you all the updates at no extra cost. I think I already said that. Did I already say that? Now, if you're an HWL insider, I sent an email out last week with a very special message about this transition. I just want to say I highly recommend going back and reading that email just in case you didn't see it or you don't check your email very often. You should definitely go do it. Now, if you aren't an HWL insider, but you want cool, free, and early access to stuff like this in the future, go to www.heyworshipleader.com and sign up. But where can I get this amazing deal on the Expanse Pack? Well, you're full of some really good questions today. Well, while you're over there at heyworshipleader.com signing up to be an HWL insider, you can click the button at the top that says store and go shopping from there. And I'll just say you're the first to hear about this Expanse Pack, and it's on sale right now. The sale will last from now until Black Friday 2020, depending on when you're watching this. When you're in the store, just click on the Expanse Pack. You can read everything that's in there, and I'll be adding some new stuff to it very soon. Whenever they release the 3.0 update, I'm definitely gonna be updating all my presets to reflect those 8 blocks. So that's why it's important. That's why I've repeated it so many times in this video, that you're an HWL insider and also that you're subscribed to this YouTube channel. That's how I will communicate all the updates. Okay, so tip time. Now, as I explain these tips or tricks, did I say they were tricks or are they tips? I think a couple of them are just tips and one of them's kind of a trick. But they're mainly gonna be about dialing in your amps and cabs. Now, the reason I start here is so you have a good starting base for your tone. A lot of people get excited about different effects and they start adding on effects before they actually get a good tone to start with. And you definitely don't wanna start adding effects to cover up a poorly dialed in amp or cab. So there's a free little tip before we get started. But tip number 1 is this: use a dual cab. Now, the HX Stomp makes it easy to drop in an amp and cab combo, and they can sound great. But I found that picking out an amp and having the flexibility that comes with 2 different cabs is plenty to get the sound you want. You can change the mics, you can determine how close or how far away those mics are to the cab. You can do high cuts and low cuts, and there's even a level so you can adjust the volumes of the different cabs. I go in and I tweak all these different settings on my presets. And let me just add a tip within a tip. Try messing around with dual cabs before jumping straight to IRs. Impulse responses are great, but you can get some amazing sounds out of the stock cabs without spending any more money. And the reason I say this is because I've seen many people who are new to amp and cab modeling, and they hear that, oh, you need IRs, and so they get them, but they don't really understand why. So I would just challenge you to tweak an amp and a dual cab to sound good with your setup. And then if you want to get into IRs later, you can definitely do that. All right, so tip number 2, now that you have your dual cab set up, crank up the early reflection parameters on one of the cabs to create a stereo image. The early reflections gives you the experience of the sound of an amp bouncing off a wall near you. It creates a slight slapback feel, so if you do this to just one of your cab, it begins to create some space and it really thickens up your tone. People use a similar trick to this by placing two different amps on parallel path and placing a simple delay in front of it. And if you set your delay at 0% feedback, 100% wet, and crank up the time to just 15 to 20 milliseconds, it also creates this slight delay from amp A to amp B and starts creating that space. Basically, anything you can do to create some perceived space from one amp to the other or one cab to the other will give you that stereo image. And it just makes for a huge sound even before you add any effects. Now, I like the early reflection trick compared to the delay trick because with the early reflections, you don't have to use two amps. The delay trick separates the two amps where the early reflections separates the two cabs. And not having to run two amps saves a lot of DSP. Now, that may not be a problem for you if you're running a Helix or if you're just using your Stomp for amps and cabs and you have external effects, it may not be a problem. But in my experience, one of the limitations of the Stomp is the fact that the DSP is low, and so we're always trying to figure out ways to save DSP. So use the early reflections trick. Also, there's been several videos on this channel where I walk you through exactly how I do that. So if you haven't seen those, I think there's an HX Stomp playlist. Just go click on that playlist. You can watch several videos there. I explain all this stuff in there as well. All right, so now we're gonna move from tweaking the cab to the amp in tip number 3, which is crank up the master first before you mess with any other parameters. It's going to get louder, yes, but the master is also interactive with all the other parameters. This way you're getting the most out of your amp. You're hearing exactly what your amp can do. Amps sound really good with the power tubes cranked, and that's what the master does on your amp in the Stomp. Now, if you need less gain or distortion and you've already pulled everything else down, you can begin to pull this down, but I like, and I think it sounds really good with this master cranked all the way up. Now, I do this to all my presets, and if you've bought the Expanse pack or you've already had it, you can see through there that most of my presets have the master dimed out all the way. I think there's only one on there where I adjusted it down a little bit because I felt like it needed to. Either way, I would start there and then adjust to your taste. Now remember, this is a tip. This is not a rule. It's not for every case, but in my experience, I think the amps sound better and more realistic with the master up. All right, number 4, but didn't I say 3? I think there was only gonna be 3 tips, but this is a bonus tip, and the bonus tip is just this. If you wanna sound good right now, you can go purchase the Expanse pack. I just wanna let you guys know about it. I know I've already talked about it, but I think it's a really good deal. I think you can benefit from it. I made this pack for 2 main reasons. The first is so that you're able to get amazing sounds without all the headache. If there's one thing I know about worship leaders and worship volunteers is they don't necessarily have a lot of time. I've done the work and I've put in the hours so that you don't have to. Now that leads me into the second reason that I make these available, and that is so that you can learn. When you're able to see how someone else puts things together, you begin to see what you like and what you don't like. You get to see how it's put together. If you do purchase these presets or anybody's presets, I would encourage you to make adjustments, fool around with them, tweak them, and get them exactly how you like them. Remember, with the Expanse pack, you can always download it again for free, no extra cost. So even if you accidentally delete it or you mess it up, you have a link that sends you to a free version of it, so there's no risk. All right, so I hope these tips were helpful for you. Like I said before, go sign up to be an HWL Insider for early releases and special announcements. Make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel so you don't miss out on any new stuff, and I actually have some new stuff coming very soon, some non-guitar related cool stuff, so you don't want to miss that, so be on the lookout for that as well. Can I just say, I really want you guys to be the best worship leaders that you can be. It's my passion, it's my heart to help you guys. It really drives everything I do here at Hey Worship Leader. So I just want to say thank you for watching, thank you for being here. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.